Hey guys, Illuga is underrated and Illuga is good. Asterisks. I said it, I can prove it, and I don't mean just for Zibai. If you haven't read the title, this video is about Illuga in context of Noelle teams. Side note, I assume Constellation 6 Noelle with red horn and C0 5 stars with the varying cons on Illuga, and my artifacts, or something equivalent to my artifacts. Let's start with a bit of context. Currently the go-to non-wheelchair Noelle team is Furina, Columbina and Silonen. We have Furina for solid off-field damage, buffs and HP train for Marechius, and most of us are using Marechius. We run Columbina for her personal damage, enabling lunar crystallize and some lunar buffs. By herself she doesn't provide quite enough Hydro for Noelle, that's why we're running 2 Hydro Archons. They also both enjoy Hydro Resonance and energy they generate, making their ER needs rather low. Bina deals not insignificant amount of damage that is considered normal, non-lunar damage, so Furina's buff isn't fully wasted on her. And lastly we have Silonen for tons of energy for Noelle, usually with 2 skills per rotation, Rest Shred for both Geo and Hydro, and 40% damage bonus from Scroll for both elements. Very cool. The team is quite synergistic, not really even all that wheelchairy, and results in pretty much highest damage Noelle-centric C0 5-star C6 4-star team can provide. Here is the thing. Artifact options for Columbina in this team suck ass. We have Serenade only providing half the EM, we have Obaidu of Morningstar and Moon, which I call a Boba, which only has third of its potential, that's even worse. We have Tenacity, which is joke because Noelle barely cares for attack. There is also Golden Troop, which does nothing for lunar crystallized gravity hits, and like seriously Golden Troop, this isn't Furina, and we have of course 2-piece options, but what are we doing if we consider 2-piece? But if we somehow could get the Ascendant Gleam, a Boba would be great damage increase. Without Illuga, the options are quite limited to say the least. We have Inefa, but that's a wheelchair, like, I'm sorry. And we have Aino. We would have to replace Furina with Aino, and that's just not worth it. Lunar Crystallize doesn't deal enough damage. Like, we still care about Furina's damage and her kinda sizable buff. And maybe a Hoda? She can give some EM and supplement Hydro up. A C6 even giving Columbina 50 crit value. That's nice, but let's be real, it's still not enough to be a worthy replacement of Furina. Not to mention that energy will be worse for Columbina. Here comes Illuga. At the first glance he seems bad. At second, even worse, but if you check the numbers and like actually try him, it's reasonable. How? First of all, at C2 and higher he can easily run SMS, so that Bina can run above. I already explained why that's good. The team loses some energy, so Bina has to run 5 now, but it's still an improvement for her and team's damage. Without C2 it's harsh. He can still do it and wants to run it, but he needs to separate his skill and burst to give him better, but still not perfect uptime. At C2 he gains off-field hits which trigger SMS, so you don't need to bother with it. But you still want to proc someone's Favonius at half Noelle's uptime. His quills are kinda pathetic, but they still do increase Noelle's damage. Quills are better the more hits and the more damage percent and crit the character using them has. Noelle can't really use all of them, but the second part is quite reasonable. 50% damage from Geo Resonance, another 15 from C2, 15% from Marechius, 46 from Goblet if you're using damage percent Goblet, and around 60 average from Furina. Crit damage isn't much worse. With Redhorn and Marechius it's quite feasible to reach 220% crit damage and 100% crit rate, and we're also getting 20 or 50 crit value from Illuga himself. They end up providing not too dissimilar amount of damage as Redhorn's passive, the part that gives additional motion value. 20 or 50 crit value is nice. That's either half of what Goru provides or 25% more. C4 gives on-fielder, so Noelle 200 defense. That ends up being 30 to 40% of what Goru would give. Again, quite good. And there is 50 or 80 EM to the whole team, on top of extra 60 from fully activating SMS. All in all, at C6 he surpasses Shilonen, who's believed to be far above other options. At C4 he's still decent though behind. C2 is starting to get shaky, and at C0 he's meh, but still an okay-ish budget option. It's not all sunshine and rainbows for our Lightkeeper boy. C2 Shilonen is better. He's a 4-star, so getting him can be a nightmare, especially getting him to C6, which does matter for his performance. There is a good chance he'll be locked to Zibai, like Sarah was locked to Raiden or Goru to Ito, who uses him and Columbina better than Noelle. His energy generation being worse also hurts in Stygian, if you're bringing Noelle to Stygian. But he's not without upsides. First of all, he frees up your Shilonen, who someone else like Mauika might want. Second of all, he has much better matchup against Wild Hunt enemies, who won't Ascendant Gleam. Next up is... who will definitely be something. He shines even more with Columbina's constellations thanks to the artifact set upgrades, but also his elemental mastery and crit buffs. Illuga helps quite a bit with gravity lunar crystallized hits, which Columbina constellations increase in number. He also enables secondary buffs requiring Ascendant Gleam. C1 buff doesn't matter too much in Noelle teams. C2 on the other hand is quite sizable, over 400 defense for Noelle is always welcome. It's basically another main stat worth of defense. With Constellation 2 on Columbina, Illuga almost at any constellation can surpass C0 Shilonen. At C6 he's competing with C2 Shilonen. He does need Columbina to fully shine, though he may be best one-cost option as a last slot for Noelle plunge teams with Shanyon and Furina, but that's mostly because non-C2 Shilonen options are bad. There are also a few misconceptions I want to clear up. First is that he has damage percent buff in his kit. No, Lemao. I understand where this comes from. Quills and damage percent buffs can have very similar or even straight up the same wording. Illuga's Geo damage buff from Burst has quite similar wording to say Kazuha's Ascension 4 passive. There is a single teeny tiny small difference. It's 1000 times larger. Second misconception is that he doesn't buff Lunar Crystallize. This one is partially true. He doesn't buff Lunar Crystallize directly. He doesn't have anything like Nilu or something like the passives of Moonwheel characters that not only enable but also increase damage of corresponding lunar reactions. Still, he does provide an elemental mastery buff, can fully enable and use SMS, and has Geo crit buffs. All these factors do increase lunar crystallized damage. The last misconception is that he's only useful with Zibai. That without Zibai, he's absolutely useless. I think this video is enough of an argument against this. It's hard to recommend wishing directly for him. Generally, it's not worth going just for 4 stars, especially on the banner like current one, where one 5-star is hard to recommend these days, which is crazy about Nevilet, but whatever. And the other wants to replace Noelle in basically her team. I got him personally to C3, while also getting C6 for my Goru. I'm satisfied, but I risked it, knowing that I have enough Primos to guarantee Varka, who I also want. If you don't want anyone from next version, you can risk it. Why not? That's all. Play Illuga if you get him. Bye!